It's no joke when you choke, so get LifeVac and live. Without breath, there'll be death. So get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live.
LifeVac and live.
Ooh, thank you, Mike Rowe. Welcome to the Man in the Arena. I will be Rick Fatscher, along with Arthur Lee, CEO and inventor of LifeVac, and Mr. Patrick O'Rourke. Gosh, the funniest guy that I know. Funniest.
Get out more often.
You don't know.
Well, you won't. You took away my cable. You're not letting me watch nothing. That guy stinks. That guy stinks. That guy stinks. Anyway, welcome to the Man in the Arena. Brought to you by LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net. Protect those that you love. So many. Thank you for starting the clock. Go to lifevac.net. Get the original. Beware of the knockoffs. We're going to be talking a lot about knockoffs today, boy.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get the knockoffs. We'll talk more about that. But use code MITA. Get 15% off your LifeVac order. And also pick up a copy of the great book, Sorry, Can't Is a Lie, by Arthur Lee.
Arthur Lee?
I know. Arthur the author.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cartoon.
Yeah. You know what else today?
Explorer.
Coming up this week, we're taping on a Wednesday for our Saturday shows, which is in LA, Houston, New York, and Orlando, the happiest place on earth, as far as we know. You know what?
Oh.
I forgot.
All right.
Yeah.
But we're growing, and I'm very happy that our man in the arena is getting there.
Now I remember.
Oh,
I'm radioactive. Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't important. No, it's Teacher Appreciation Day coming up. That's what's so important. And
Yes.
Joe Ancelone, a physical education teacher from Queens, New York, is going to join us, and we're going to celebrate him right about now. Joe Ancelone.
How you guys doing?
We're doing well. These guys are doing great. Me, not so much. Yeah,
Getting in touch with
having a little
yourself.
trouble. I need to speak to an educator myself. Maybe not phys ed, but maybe something in the mental field.
Mr. Chan.
That's the most important subject. We all know that.
Absolutely. So, I guess it's up to your students, but we appreciate you as taking care of. Well, we're all old enough to have kids going, being students. Do you feel appreciated by the students these days?
Truthfully, I love what I do.
Mhm.
I wouldn't change it for the world. The only other profession I would not do, that I would do without being a teacher, would be playing shortstop for the Yankees. But that's not going to happen. So teaching is.
It might.
Volpe's
not good.
Well, I love what I do. My students, bless me every day, and like I said, I wouldn't change that for the world.
Oh, that's awesome. And how long? Give us a little bit of the background. How long have you been in education?
So I've been in education since about 2017. I've been in New York City schools and the DOE since 2018, and I work in Flushing. So I get to teach health and physical education, primarily phys ed. But I've been in the DOE since 2018, which is it's flown by. I've seen a lot of craziness since 2018 with the pandemic and
right through
and
the
all
vid.
that stuff.
Joe, if you, I remember this from coaching, and years later, kids would come up and say something like, I remember when you did this, or this helped me, or you made it fun. And have you gotten that in your career where you meet a kid later on and they point something out that you did that you didn't even realize?
It actually happened to me last month. Not for the first time, but where it really kind of set in.
Mhm.
I guess my wife and I are expecting our first child, so
Oh,
I have a little bit
Hey,
of a different. Thank you. I have a little bit of a different outlook on certain things now. And one of my first students, he was one of my first kindergartners. He came up to me after school, and I remembered his name. And I teach a lot of kids every single day, so I remembered his name. He was much taller than me, and he couldn't believe that I remembered his name. And he said, "Hey, Mr. A, I remember when we played this game and how much of a difference it made, and the way you explained, about sportsmanship." He's like, and that's something that I kind of held near and dear to my heart. And I looked at him and I was like, that's crazy. Something so simple that,
Right.
I didn't really think made an impact. This kid came up to me. He's well in, high school, 11th or 12th grade. And the simple fact that I remembered his name, he was flabbergasted, and it made me feel good too, because it makes you feel like you're doing something right.
Well, I think it's in teacher appreciation. It shows that impact that they do have. I can remember I could play basketball with Mr. McGovern. I can remember Mrs. King telling me how I wrote.
Oh, the English
read. Yeah, I read these things. I remember Mrs. Oh gosh, Colleen. She took one of my papers and told me, how it was good.
Madame
what it
Tytler.
did. Mrs. Tytler for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that in teacher appreciation is that when we grow up and we remember those moments, that we should remember them when we thank our teachers for the job they do. And Joe just said, something that he didn't really think too much about.
Right.
Do you guys have any of those?
Oh.
Do you remember any of them?
Sure. I had an 8th grade social studies teacher named Mr. Hardick at McKenna. And he was great. It's just everything about his class made me very interested in social studies. And then years later, we're getting married, pre-Cana or before you get married.
Yeah.
So we go to this house and I walk in and there he is. He does pre-Cana with his wife. And I said to Lisa, I go, this is the guy I always talk about. This is the guy, teachers that affected your life. And he was thrilled. He was like, oh, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And we haven't stayed in touch, but
No,
but it was like it was a great moment for him too. And we were in touch for the whole time between that and us getting married. He was very nice to me, but he was just a teacher I always remembered. Always,
Right.
His class was different to me. It made me love this subject.
You?
Well, a lot of us were in touch today talking about this show, and one teacher came to mind because he stood out amongst a great number of us. Ray Hahn was an earth science teacher, and we still talk about his class, and I saw an article about him, and we just bonded. I mean, he broke the norm. Like, he wasn't the run-of-the-mill, going through the motions guy. He was very animated, class to class. People weren't even in the same class would talk about their experience.
Everyone did an imitation of him.
Oh, really?
Very
Yes.
serene. Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn. Yes.
Yeah, he would call
Is
you
that
Mr.
from,
Lee.
uh,
Mr. Lee.
Really?
Yes,
But
Mr. Lee.
Rick and I have a lot in common where we both lost our dads when we were young. So coaches were like father figures to us more than
coaches
the
too,
average
yeah.
person, because
Yeah.
we both grew up with without a father. So
Mhm.
Cotillo and Bevilacqua, Mims,
Yes.
Bevilacqua, there's
Mr. Bev.
so
yes.
the real Seinfeld Bevilacqua.
That's right.
Because he's the Massapequa gym coach.
Yes, he was. Yep.
You had him? Both of you had him?
I had him for wrestling in like 7th, 8th grade. And my brother Jimmy had him for he was a wrestling coach all through his career. Yeah.
And was he a good coach?
Excellent coach. Hall of Fame wrestling coach. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I
Joe,
think-
do you remember the name Mr. Bevilacqua?
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. I went to Plainview, so
Oh,
I
boy.
was
Okay.
the losing end of the Massapequa athletic.
You're probably more familiar with Mims, right? Coach Mims. He was a
Yeah.
wrestling coach.
Gary
That sounds
Mims.
familiar. Well,
Did you play in high school?
yeah, I played baseball in high school, and Massapequa was coming off of a county championship every year. them in MacArthur and Levittown. So
Sheedy, Coach
we were
Sheedy. Yeah.
often on the losing end, but Massapequa has always been a powerhouse in pretty much every aspect of athletics.
Taste
for
the winning,
forever.
Massapequa.
Yeah.
Do you care to weigh in on the Chiefs?
Chief.
On the subject of the Chiefs, which is getting a lot of
I can't
attention
believe
these days.
Trump talked
Yeah.
about it.
We got to leave the Chiefs the way they are. It once again, it's Long Island history. Long Island was founded by Native Americans all those years ago, and I think it's just a way of paying homage to them. We don't always have to necessarily dissect everything with a microscope, but that's just my personal opinion. I have very fond memories just being in Massapequa as a kid. You got All American there. It's a great town. I
getting
know
that.
my wife and I were looking.
That's
for
why we're
houses
good in
that
sports.
Now that you mention it after the show tonight. Yeah.
I just
But,
find it
you know,
ironic that Hochul has her CEO get rid of the name. Her education CEO, chief operating officer, get rid of the name chief.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but see,
Think
it's so
about that.
ridiculous.
It is.
That's why we got to stay in the arena, because I think the path that we were on talking about with Joe, having a kid come up and explain the usefulness of his efforts, right? His teaching,
Yeah.
and us all remembering it, that when we get this new world of attacking, the teacher didn't do, the teacher is going to go to school. I mean, I boycotted my class in 5th grade and didn't go in. My parents never went. It was like too bad, and I think that we need to appreciate our teachers. And when we're ready to go after them and say, you didn't teach Billy right, or you said something, remember those moments like we just did about a teacher that helped us.
And our parents didn't fall for that. You were terrified if the teacher called home.
Yeah.
Now that you teacher calls home and they take the kid's side. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, talk about your experience with LifeVac. I don't
Joe
know where
has
this
an
question
experience
comes
with
from.
LifeVac?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I have 2 LifeVacs at home. Luckily, I know how to use them, but I've never used them, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a special needs brother-in-law who actually had a traumatic brain injury, and he's always keeping us on our toes, and he often chokes on his food. And one thing my mother-in-law did, since we have little kids all over the family, she bought everyone a LifeVac a couple of years ago for Christmas, and said, "Hey, listen, this is something that we just want to have. God forbid,
Just in case.
Just in case." My brother-in-law is 6'4". He's over 225 pounds. I like to think that I'm a gym rat. I go to the gym every day, but some days trying to get him up, God forbid, if he's choking, is not exactly ideal. And a lot of the old traditional ways of using, the Heimlich and all that stuff, a chair, this LifeVac is completely game changing, and it really has done so much, good in its purpose. And one of my good friends, who's also a teacher, who lives in Massapequa, ironically, he actually had to use it on his daughter quite a few years ago. And ever since he said that he used it on his daughter, I went out and bought one before my mother-in-law got one for me, and just said, "Hey, listen, this is just in case insurance policy here." And like I said, I commend you guys. It's a great product, and it really does a lot of good.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you, son. You hit on a lot of the heartfelt reasons behind it. People that may not be able to be saved because of their size or their physical disability, the peace of mind. And I was just thinking, I don't know if we asked, but I think we're at 67 school saves with someone in school, because it's very dangerous. Joe would know. They got to eat quick. They're laughing. It's a perfect environment. They have small windpipes because they're not matured yet. And 67 kids have been saved in school.
Wow.
With LifeVac.
That we know about.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And, that I think teacher appreciation. I appreciate Joe telling that story.
Absolutely.
Joe, I have a brother-in-law. named Ron D'Angelo. He's been a teacher over at Birch Lane for about 15 years. And he said, "This is what's going to happen next." He goes, "Now I have kids I taught coming into the teaching system and teaching in my schools and coming in as substitute teachers and getting full-time jobs." And saying to him, "You're one of the reasons I went into the teaching field." So
how cool is that?
I'm sure that'll happen to you too.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I know I have a couple of teachers in mind that I still keep in touch with on social media. And I let them know that all the time, because it is true. So I hopefully, one day I'm blessed enough to have that, but I do have a good rapport with my students, and it's like I said, I love what I do, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, unless I'm playing shortstop for the Yankees.
And most importantly,
here comes that shortstop again.
What are you having, boy or girl?
So we're having a boy.
Yeah.
I could not be happier. I would.
There's your shortstop.
Happy if it was a girl.
Yes.
But,
You want a boy first, because then you go get your sister. I'm not going to that party. If I go there, I'll get in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The boy will take care of his younger siblings. But I'm very, very, very excited. Getting the room ready and everything. So it's kind of setting in now. The baby's due on August 24th, which is actually my favorite number. 24 is my favorite number. So it's just it's pretty cool. Everything's working itself out.
Well, we'll be well past 4,000 saves by August 24th, maybe even 5,000.
Yes. I like that. Now we're changing.
Right.
We're really
That's
kicking
awesome.
it up.
Yeah. Well, Joe Ancelone, I can go out on a limb and say you're one of our favorite educators.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Joe Ancelone, everybody. Thanks so much. Teacher Appreciation Week. What's the school again that you work at?
I work PS 163 in Flushing Heights.
PS 163 in Flushing Heights. So
school.
this Sunday, it's going to be between 12 and 1. You're going to be on WOR AM 710. So you look forward to hearing yourself this weekend.
Awesome.
Joe, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you,
You're very
Joe.
welcome.
Appreciate you.
We're with Joe Ancelone, and now we're not. But Pat O'Rourke, Rick Fatscher, and Arthur Lee will be back with more of Man in the Arena after this message.
She started to choke on a piece of candy.
She wasn't breathing.
Then Ray reached for the LifeVac, and it saved her.
She could have easily died that day. A LifeVac saved her life. What I would say is don't need a LifeVac and not have it. Have a LifeVac and hopefully never need it.
Recently, the American Red Cross has added anti-choking devices as an option when standard protocol fails or is not feasible.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
Do that.
Yeah. Gotta open their eyes.
Hey, everybody, we're back on The Man in the Arena. I'll put my headset back on. I remain Rick Fatscher, along with Pat O'Rourke and Arthur Lee, CEO, inventor of LifeVac, and we were talking for the moment with Joe Ancelone, an educator for Teacher Appreciation. I think it's just a day coming up in May.
I wish that you almost wish
It's actually only a period.
you know, if
It's
it
fourth
wasn't
period.
Fourth period.
I think I had lunch, but if there wasn't the pressing matter to discuss this whole China situation, it would have
time.
been nice to talk more about it, because when we were sharing stories, it brought to mind how we do appreciate them.
Of course.
We need to back off when we're critical to remember that, you know, we all are impacted by it, but we have to fry this fish because it's a biggie.
No doubt. And it's not like we can't revisit those topics because they are near
Because
dear.
can't lie. So no, you're right. We
Did
can.
I say it again?
You did.
God's sakes, man. I should get docked every time I say that word. It's right there in the title of the book, and I keep ignoring it again and again and again.
It's tough.
Someone can't remember it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the Man in the Arena, please tell us about this woman that we were just introduced to. We're going to talk about, I mean, it's happening more and more where we talk about the patent. We talk about fairness. We talk about patent infringement, all this stealing that's going on.
We're going to talk about our situation, but I
First?
think it's last night I saw the commercial, right? And the new awareness has given me hope. Right?
Another commercial. You did a commercial about the knockoffs,
did.
and now a hose company says the same thing.
Yeah. And to me, it's hope that this situation is finally coming to light. Now, it doesn't necessarily tariffs, whatever, that's fine. I don't know enough about it, but I do know is the problem with intellectual property theft and the devastating effects of them being able to find successful, copy, ignore laws, patent, FDA, FTC, every law we have,
Boom, boom.
and decimate that market and steal all that.
And crush the entrepreneur.
Yeah, and crush the entrepreneur.
Hey, Bobby.
The woman that's coming on, I just got a quick note from because Laura was kind enough to find her, and her story is very painful.
Yeah. Before we get to Molly, let's just run this commercial because it's brief.
Yeah.
Let's run this Patriot commercial that kind of happy to hear it.
Pocket Hose Copper Bullet is an American invention.
Copper
Turn
Bullet,
off
quality
water
product.
And it grows to a full-size hose. Turn off the water and it shrinks back down to a pocket-sized hose. Now, with a triple-layered tube, we have patents, but China sells billions that violate the rights of American companies, and there's not much we can do about it. And many don't even pay tariffs.
Crazy.
Buy only the original pocket hose
All right.
on Amazon and Walmart.
Not much we can do, Arthur.
Thumb drive spray nozzle while supplies last. Order now.
Use it to your ears, right?
But what was
You
it?
should do the same commercial, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but with us, we have to do something about it. You know, you don't die from getting
A
a
hose.
knockoff hose. It's wrong. It shouldn't happen. Or we should protect our American entrepreneurs, but you won't die.
Mm.
Our problem is these things will kill you, and we have to tackle this problem. ABC is dangerous products that are illegal,
Right.
and then we certainly should look at better protection for our Americans that are coming up with something, working to get it popular, working to get it sold, and then getting wiped out because they come in and they don't have any of the cost associated with doing it or marketing it.
Or all the hard work, all the
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears.
But see,
No
the rumor,
exposure.
we've always thought like China's cheaper, right? But that's not the thing. They don't have to develop, they don't have to market. They just, like with us, they take our videos that we pay to do. They take our data that we pay to get. They ignore the FDA, that costs money. So the reason it's cheaper is because they don't have to do any of the work nor the marketing, which is a huge expense. That commercial they just ran is like $7,000 for 30 seconds. Now you Google their product, you see the same thing for $10 less and you buy it. They didn't spend the money.
Mhm.
I did a Google search, got an 800 number. You were with me. I'm not convinced that I was
don't
talking
think
to
you
that,
were.
not talking to that company. I want to talk to someone in marketing. Okay, yeah, I'm the person. And
They didn't
Bangladesh.
sound like the person.
Did not at all.
No.
Did not at all. But I noticed, and for those listening at home, out on iHeartRadio or any of the radio stations, LA, Houston, Orlando, you have with you, you're mentioning like not only the notes tonight, but actual products that have been received through the internet that are knockoffs. Some look dangerously close to a LifeVac. Others are clearly not.
Look, this plastic bazooka looking thing is just one of the many examples of the depth of this problem. But once again, that it's important to note, and we do need to hear Molly because it's the typical story of how you get destroyed. But these are all illegal, and they're still on for sale, right? This cannot be sold in the United States until it's FDA registered, and what it has to go through its qualifications with the FDA. So it's against the law, and there's hundreds of them.
Looks like you'd buy it in the bong section of Spencer's.
Yeah, no, well, this thing is really
What do you mean?
Popular with college boys.
What do you mean bong? Spencer's. Pat, I don't know what you're talking about.
What could you be speaking of?
Listen,
right.
we should go to Molly
Yes,
Metz. Molly
she was
Metz
kind enough
is
to come
joining
on,
us.
so.
There she is. And a round of applause. Metz. How are you, Molly? All the way from Colorado.
All the way from Colorado.
Molly stepped up really quickly,
Yes.
and I don't know the full story. I'm looking forward to hearing it, sad as it is, but really grateful, Molly, for you to come on and share this so that hopefully we can get change and at least educate the poor people that think they're going to succeed with this situation.
And how much does Laura Benelli owe you for this appearance?
Just 10 LifeVacs is all I need.
Ew.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Okay. I do not want any of the knockoffs. This is quick. We just talked today, literally like 2 hours ago, and she said, "Would you be available for a podcast?" And I said, "Of course." I love listening to you guys right now because you're talking about obviously something near and dear to my heart, which is infringement, and I know that's not near and dear, but I've kind of been there, done that. And maybe I just quickly tell you who I am. I'm a 5-time world jump rope champion. I started jump rope when I was 7 years old. Love listening to you guys talking about sports. I also play softball. I'm a left fielder, not a shortstop. But I grew up as a jock and passionate about competitive jump rope. I know that's a quirky sport, but I literally kind of paved the way in jump rope in 2007. I quit my job and I decided I wanted to have a jump rope business. So I started working with kids. And I took my world championships and I kept competing at the time. And I designed a jump rope technology so I could go faster and quicker in the sport. Little did I know that I was going to create the next best jump rope literally in the world for all sports. So 2007-08, I applied for a US patent. I got 2. That it takes a long time to get a patent. In my case, 4 years, about $40,000. And you guys said something interesting, and I'm going to jump ahead, but when somebody steals, they don't have to do all the R&D. I mean, it takes years. We're experts in what we do, the time, the research, the testing, and then the patent process. And they're just waiting over there, right? Like, okay, we can't wait till they put this out there.
Yeah, keep going, Molly.
Well, and the marketing too.
No.
They don't steal it until it's successful.
I was pretending to be the Chinese
crook.
Yeah, the crooks.
Oh, right. I mean, they love that. They're just waiting for the experts in their garage, in their gym, and I'm proud I'm an expert. I'm proud you guys are an expert. But so going back to that time, you don't know when you're creating the next best thing. Next thing I know, it's 2012 and I have over 150 infringers. That's a lot of people stealing. Mm-hmm. And when you don't do anything about it, your sales go down. The integrity of your product goes down. So finally in 2015, I'm jumping ahead just to make this quick. I stopped doing everything I love, which is coaching kids. I closed down my shop. And I get an attorney and I'm like, I'm going to fight, right? You have to fight these guys. And you guys said earlier, it's hard to do. It's almost impossible to do. But if you put all your, chips in, you can do it. So for 3 years, I fought those infringers, Amazon shops, the little mom and shops here and there. I got ITC recognition. For all the viewers out there, what that means is I'm a US made and manufacturing company. I'm proud of that. But the ITC will help stop imports coming from overseas, and in my case, China. So there was a ban stopped of my jump ropes coming over. That's a big deal. So I did all that legwork, and I set up all these licensing deals. And finally, in 2018, I go for my largest infringer, my last one. They've sold probably hundreds of millions of jump ropes, right? So they're the big guy. I go to sue them. I go to court, and the court says, we're going to stay this case. And for any viewers, that means we're just going to put it on hold. And Rogue got to put in what's called an IPR. And I've learned that about 90% of cases like mine are put on hold, and they go to this IPR process. And basically my infringement case, where I have all this evidence that they've stolen my jump rope technology, I don't get to talk about that anymore. I have to now prove the validity of my patents. So you guys have to imagine at this point, this should be easy, right? I have ITC recognition. I've gone years. I have all these licensing deals. So I go to this administrative court called the PTAB, the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. And about, I don't know, I'll call it 6 months into the process, we get our final written decision back, and both my patents are canceled. And I'm asking my attorneys, what just happened? How did my patents just get canceled? And they said, okay, there's a mistake. They did this wrong. We appealed. We go to the federal courts. I get a ruling. It's called a Rule 36. It's like 2 days later. I didn't get a true appeal. So long story short, and I'm doing this fast.
No, take your time.
That whole process took about 4 years. I spent $500,000 trying to prove the validity of my patents. So my patents got canceled. The moment that Rogue put in for the IPR, I lost all my licensing deals, which meant all the money that I was putting towards that effort were gone. And at the end of all of it, I found a U.S. inventor, and I said, look, this just happened to me. This is what's going on. And I found out there's thousands of other inventors in the United States who have lost and had their patents canceled through this process. And I've learned that 84% of the patents that are adjudicated at the PTAB, you lose your patents. Wow. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but in district court, validity of your patents can come up along with infringement. And the invalidity rate is around 20%. Don't you think 84% is quite high?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So what you'll learn is in 2012, Congress passed a bill called the America Invents Act. And what that did is it created the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. It was supposed to be a faster, cheaper alternative for court litigation for infringement. The key word there is alternative. As an inventor, you have no choice. You are automatically sent to the PTAB. You have no voice. You have no due process. You have no judge. You have no jury. You never get to talk about infringement. And it's just a biased hindsight process. I've just learned so much about this in the last 3 years. It's disgusting. And it's killing American innovation. I had 45 employees. I have 1 employee now. My products made in America. All my employees, they're gone. Rogue sources about 80% of their jump ropes from China.
Of course.
And they're still selling. So here I am.
Was there ever a reason given for the cancellation of your patent?
Yep. So here you have my jump rope. This is a pen.
I was going to say, that's a cool jump rope.
I know, it's pretty cool. They'll take a car part that looks a lot like the end of my jump rope, and they'll say, look at this car part. Doesn't it look like the end of our jump rope? And doesn't this jump rope over here from the 1970s kind of have the same thing going on? Isn't it obvious that Molly would have made this jump rope? And they're like, yeah, it's obvious. My point is that's how easy it is to invalidate a patent. I have dozens of inventors who can come on this show. They will explain how their patents were invalidated. You will find it ridiculous.
Well, you know what I've noticed? It's almost the patent itself is almost worthless, because you went through the extreme because you are a human and you are a fighter and you believe in our country and our system. The problem is not everyone even considers fighting that hard, right? Because what happens is they just knock you off, they don't care that you have a patent. You would technically, if they were here, you would go against the company, right? And say, you infringe on my patent, and you would litigate against them. They're all in China. So you don't have the option to face the company that's infringing upon you. and forget about the fact that then they pick it apart to do what they did to you. But I think the whole protection of the patent has just disintegrated. Like it's virtually worthless.
Since 2007, our patent law has been decimated.
Yeah.
2007, there was a Supreme Court decision that got rid of injunctions. 2012 created the PTAB, which invalidates patents. 2014, there was another Supreme Court case that, messed with software patents. And in 2017, they now deemed our patent rights not a private right anymore, but a public right. So yes, they have definitely done that. You said something about fighting. Fighting your infringer these days is nearly impossible. Imagine being an attorney and knowing that the chances of going to court and getting it stayed and being sent to the PTAB and having your patents invalidated. Why would you take that case as an attorney?
Well,
so inventors are not getting attorneys. They can't find anyone on contingency.
No.
So it's just impossible to fight.
Well, I think it goes back, and our product is not only the patent being infringed, and I've almost come to the fact that it's worthless, but that they circumvent FDA. They circumvent safety laws, rules, interstate commerce. They're breaking the law. Forget about my patent. These products are not legal, and they're still being sold by the thousands. So you can tell that the system is extremely broken by the fact that not only do I have a patent, but they're not even supposed to be able to sell them legally anyway. So it wouldn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, it's just turned into this huge, I think by weakening the patent system, it's also just weakening infringers. How do I say? It's condoning people to steal at even a greater rate. I don't know if you knew this, but if you're being infringed on, you have counterfeits, right? Are they coming from China? Most of them.
A lot.
I don't know if you know this, but the United States is the only country in the world who has this PTAB court. Your Chinese infringer, even if you do anything about it, their counterfeits and all of that. Let's say you did something about it, they can go to the PTAB whenever they want, and they can go to invalidate your patents.
No, I'm kind of giving up on that.
Why was this even set up? This sounds so corrupt. This sounds ridiculous.
Well, guess why? Because the patent office is now owned by the Chinese per their ability to take patents. So to me, the patent system
isn't like antitrust laws where the American government can come in and go, they shouldn't be running this?
Would it surprise you guys to know who lobbied for that bill years before? It's all the big tech companies today. That's what got them big today, is our patent system. It's like they climbed the ladder. My husband always says this. They climbed the ladder and they pulled it up behind them. They don't want you and I in our garage to grow big and be the next best thing. I mean, doesn't that just make sense?
Well, plus the system is designed this for them to such a beautiful thing. Like you said, we put in the work, we do the marketing, we grow the market, we get interest, we get the thing selling, and they go, okay, thank you. And now they zoop in and without all that cost, decimate your brand. But like I said, in our case, it's also illegal because they're violating the FDA and our safety guidelines. But I'm hoping in your story for people to hear, and that, that guy's running a commercial pointing it out. The problem when you fight in a vacuum is just like when your parents would say, because I said so. And you're like, well, what the heck do I do to fight that? Right? You're fighting in a vacuum. We need the public to be aware of what's happening. 55% of sellers on Amazon are Chinese. 77% of new sellers are Chinese. So they're going to decimate our industry by knocking off things that are successful. They don't steal things that don't sell. That's the remaining 30% of Amazon.
The real bad counterfeiters are concentrating on the unsuccessful.
Well, they don't bother.
Yeah.
They, if you don't hit $1 million plus in sales, they don't knock you off. As soon as you do, they swoop in and wipe you out. So, we have to raise awareness. I will fight till the death because this thing's going to kill someone. And that's my problem.
Again, for those
who steal my product.
He's holding up a very substandard product.
But it's one thing to steal my product, and we fight you like you did. I have to fight because these ridiculous products that are out there are going to kill someone. But
yeah, that's scary.
Real quick, just because it sounds so cool, what is competitive jump roping? Like, what is that? Like, I used to do the box, and I used to spin. I used to be able to do the flippy thing. That was it.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I'm glad you asked. Not everyone asks. So when I competed, What's that?
That's looking up videos.
You are.
Oh yeah, you can look at videos. I don't compete anymore, but you can think of jump rope competition as sort of like a gymnast. You know, they have their different entities like beam and floor. So a jump roper has 3 different entities that they have to sort of work on. The first one is a freestyle event, and so that would be, you know, you're crossing your arms under your legs, behind your back. You're doing gymnastics, and there's music choreographed to it.
Cool.
That was not my favorite thing, but it is quite cool to watch. The second one is called our power event. It's called a triple under. When you jump up in the air, the rope has to pass under your feet 3 times. You land, and then you do it again, and again, consecutively. So you get 1 chance. You go on the floor. If you do 2, you did 2. But right now, the world record is sitting over 500 triple unders in a row.
500.
500.
And where do you stand with that?
I'm old, but my record back in the day was 175, which was quite good back then. And the 500 is the male. I think the women record is around 450. So it's good.
While you mentioned the 2 genders, just curious, do you have any situations in the competitive where there are no?
I don't work in the organization. I used to sit on the board for the International Rope Skipping Organization. So I don't think so. I don't know. So it's a good question. That's fine. You can ask those questions.
No, I'm just kidding. There's still 2. There's still 2.
There's still 2. As far as I know, they're like, yeah. But funny story, not funny. Probably back, I don't know, 2005 to 10. The women were faster than the men.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, the last event is called a speed event. You alternate your feet as fast as you can. It's a 30-second sprint and a 3-minute sprint. And that's really where I prevailed. I was a fast speed jumper. That's why I designed my jump rope technology at the time, just so I can, you know, you get a couple extra jumps in there, right? I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. And Molly, what made your jump rope different and patentable in the first place?
Yeah, a lot of different things went into it. Because you're on the floor, like this was literally meant for competitive jump rope at the time I was making it. You get on the floor, we were getting a lot of rope breaks. I also had just gone through a car accident, and I broke my ankle and my hip was all jacked up. So I was sort of jumping out of alignment. So the jump ropes, if I was out of alignment, were sort of cutting on the side of the wire. So let's see. I had to make it durable. It was a dual bearing system. The jump rope itself couldn't have any 180-degree movement. So I made sure it only moved a certain degrees. I should have it with me. I don't. It was a last-minute podcast.
Yeah.
And just fast, right? And no shearing, right? It was just this perfect, and it is still perfect, this perfect speed rope that would just never cut. It wouldn't break. It's fast. It's set Guinness World Records. I mean, it's just a beautiful rope. It's simple.
Oh, you know what? It's such a shame, but you should be proud of yourself for such a.
I am. I still am. You know what? I have talked to former USPTO directors, and they said you have valid patents. The system is rigged. It is biased.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got off a call with the U.S. Inventor group right now. We're just talking about the changes that the USPTO is going through, and how there's this new discretionary denial. And actually, Molly, if you would have sued today, you would have had your patents today. So it's just it's a political.
Mess,
you know, and it's a shame because our patents were meant to allow people like me, like you, to protect our IP for 20 years. It's not that long, right? So we could grow and we could stop our infringers.
Well, I think it also the concern I have is going forward is, you know, people saying, yeah, I could do it, but I'm not gonna, because I'm just gonna make it and they're gonna knock it off anyway. So what's the point, right?
And I think that's
they're
sad.
not wrong. At this time, they are not wrong, because even if you have a patent, they're still going to knock it off, and they're still going to send it to Amazon. They're still going to sell it, and you know your patent is worthless in the sense of now what do I do with it, right? Your story goes even to the level of it being useful, and then saying, "Nah, we're just kidding. We're allowing them to take it over and sell it."
What a confusing time. Yeah, you go a whole decade, you put patent all over your product, and then all of a sudden it's not patentable anymore. Like, weird, huh?
I was sad because, like, as a kid growing up, you know, I was an inventor type kid, and I always, you know, my uncle had one, and I would meet him and say, well, you know, you got a patent, and he'd show it to me, and now it's worthless. It's absolutely worthless. And we need the education.
It's a source of pain.
Well, we
the
need
whole
the
experience.
education for the poor guy who puts his life savings into it, gets it on, gets it popular on Amazon, the Chinese, and he loses everything.
But
because he still believes in it.
Who is on the PTAB committee? Like how?
We have to look into this more, right?
Yeah, look into it more. Definitely, the PTAB is a tribunal. It is. You get three judges. They're not judges. They're not appointed by the president. They're usually former attorneys for high business, like Google, all those guys. And so they're toggling between Google and PTAB judges. I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Corrupt. Yeah.
It's goddamn ridiculous. And any way that Doge had any insight into this or interest? Looking at
like
it
in the last few months, what are they doing? I do know that there's been sort of an uproar at the USPTO. I know the mandate to go back to work is causing a lot of PTAB judges and examiners themselves. Maybe they're working remotely, so it's been favorable for inventors. Like I said, it's a shame even in my story that if I would have sued my infringer today. Right, there's not enough PTAB judges, so maybe my case would have stayed in district court. My infringer would have lost; they would have settled because they stole. I mean, there is just so much evidence towards that that it's kind of sad that the validity of my patent really had to do more with again a political setup rather than the validity of my true patents.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's just
so you can't go back now because they took away your patent.
I cannot. I mean, I'm a fighter. I believe there's a 1% chance that maybe I can go to President Trump and be like, hey, why don't you, set a tone and give me my patents back and to kind of show the American people.
I bet you get involved.
You might.
For the Chiefs.
I tell you what, though, if I can change the law in a way that makes sense. So right now, just so you guys know what I'm up to, a U.S. inventor and myself we're asking for one thing, and that's due process. In my story, when I went to court, I should have the right to stay in court and not be forced to go to the administrative court. And right now that's not the case, but I think that's a fair ask. I think you guys think that's a fair ask. And so that's what we're working on in Congress and just asking for a simple piece of legislation that says when an inventor goes to court, give them the right to stay in court.
But
and that's all.
Do you think that it would have been whack-a-mole anyway because the next company would just knock it off and put it on Amazon anyway, and then you'd have to just because that's what we're doing now. We whack them, they come up. They change, they just keep coming up. There's no finality to say you have to stop doing this. They just keep popping up.
I think that's another fish to fry, and I don't know what that is yet. Other than what we're doing today, we have to be social about this. We have to keep doing these podcasts.
Yes.
It would be cool if Amazon would say, hey, you can toggle this thing over and you can only view the real inventors' products, right? If you don't want to see Chinese anymore, we're going to let you see just the inventors. I mean, what a great idea that would be.
Yeah, well, that's the head of the dragon. That brings patent back to its former glory, where it actually meant something. Until they do that, they're just going to keep going around. We have a little girl here in Massapequa. She made a shirt. She designed it, and it started to sell. They knocked it off in a day because it went viral on TikTok. Then within 2 days, it was in here and up for sale.
Maybe they need to treat infringement like they do, murders. And I'm actually being serious. There should be some harsh.
Well,
you break the law. Yeah.
The loss of a hand.
Think about all the employees, but think about all the employees she had to get rid of because of this disgusting thing. And all that money now goes to China.
Yep.
It really does.
Her employees don't have jobs.
Yep.
But and with this, once again, I go back to being a little kid and being so proud when I got my patent that it meant something. It's so heartbreaking. It means nothing. And our government has just turned it into worthless.
Slap in the face.
We do all the work and they come in and do it.
Wow. Well, Molly, we appreciate you. So what was the name of the company, the Jump Rope?
My company name is Jump In Rope, JUMPNROPE. So jumpinrope.com.
Any little accents in there before or after the end? Jump in rope.
No, it's just one word, but it's not jump in rope, but jump in rope.
Just the end. Jump and rope.
Well, I got to learn about competitive jump rope.
I never. So in lacrosse, we used to have the jump rope every day in practice. It was one of our stations.
Right.
Sure.
No one ever wore out a rope. No one ever. You're breaking ropes and wearing them out. And we would go. We were pretty good. We thought we were cool. We didn't wear out ropes.
Competitive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we
hence the
weren't competitive. We were being forced.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're going at high rates, and if they step on that and yank it, I mean, it's got to be a durable rope.
Yeah, you hit yourself
It's such a
hurt.
good exercise, and they say it's
It
good
is.
for increasing your speed and your vertical leap, right? These are some
Oh, I think it's what made me a great I mean, I was a 4-sport letter, athlete in high school. I had all sorts of college offers for soccer, softball, and basketball. So I attribute jump rope.
Yeah, but you know what? Not only did the disgusting system kind of crush your business, it also crushed your ability to be enthusiastic for the benefits of jumping rope, right? Which would
Without a
have been a
doubt,
very
yeah.
nice thing for people to know. I remember when my daughter was running, I told her jumping rope because I researched that it's one of those things that can help you get a little quicker, faster.
Foot speed.
And you hit the nail on the head. From 2007 to 2015, I worked with thousands of kids.
Yeah.
I stopped doing that in 15 so I could fight infringements, right? That really put my passion on hold. That stopped me from working with kids, getting more kids active, more kids confident. And it sucks. It's sad.
That's the ass. Look, this thing's going to kill someone. And because they stole my idea. You had to leave something that was gaining momentum that would have helped children and raise awareness to what a wonderful physical. So it doesn't just kill the product and your employees. It kills the benefit, benefit,
and the morale, the soul, the spirit, the American dream, everything.
The pride that you showed before, describing and talking about the achievement and the success and the company.
Well, you know,
and then
what?
to have that invalidated and taken away is just criminal. And we hope that we can be part.
Maybe we have to
together,
make that passion to fix our country. And
we just have to work together. We have to get loud, and now we know each other. We have to jump rope more.
I'll buy one tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going online and get one.
I had one that was leather and it had like ball bearings in the handle.
I remember that. We thought you were so cool.
That was that thing. Yeah.
That was the
what you guys need is my technology with the beads, because that one, it's called a resistance rope. That's what I'll get you guys.
I think we're going to work.
Ready, Pat?
And I had
we're going to do a barter.
Yeah, we got some LifeVac heading to
rope.
Colorado and some jump ropes coming back to Wisconsin. Maybe get
next show.
Pat and I in better shape. Arthur's doing okay.
We'll do a jump rope show the next show.
One more question, Molly, before we go. Where do you stand on the double Dutch situation? Is there a lot of
I thought when you were saying, triple time and this and that, you can go faster. I thought I was about to ask, are you holding the rope? Because there is competitions where they.
So I actually failed to tell you that there is team competition too. So, and everything I said, you do with a team of 4, and then that also includes double Dutch. And so the double Dutch will be like the freestyle. You're going to see the tricks and the music, and then you're going to also see the really fast feet inside of the double Dutch.
You got to read my book because there's a chapter on the games do count, and it talks a little bit from Brian Kilmeade's original book about the impact of sports and friendships and all the other things that got crushed when the stupid government sucked.
I think, and Brian's writing a follow-up book, and I think Molly would be a great candidate for inclusion. Are you familiar with the Games Do Count, Brian Kilmeade?
I'm not. No, I would.
I'm so busy with the company.
Let's send her some LifeVacs in my book.
Yes, a lot of things going on back and forth. Jump and LifeVac.
This is the start of a thing. All of us. I love it.
How did we come
one more question.
Go ahead.
Who counts? Like, who's the guy sitting there going, okay, that was 3,
gotta be like
4.
So this is such a good question.
Asian judge.
An Asian judge.
An advocate.
No. There's these little clicking devices. Let's say you're going into a concert and they go click, right? Yeah. So there's 3 judges, and if they're off by 2 jumps, you have to redo it.
No way.
Wow.
But they can click that fast? Because when you guys get going.
Yeah. So I was a judge trainer, an international judge trainer, and you had to pick the best of the best because those were the fastest thumbs, right? It was a big deal.
From doing that?
Yeah, it's huge thumbs. Like your thumb is
muscles on your thumbs.
Pee-wee Herman.
Huge thumb.
But the sport is evolving, and I know they're getting into some new age kind of clicking stuff. But anyway, that's how it's done. Yeah.
I would Google all this. My wife's going, what are you watching?
Yeah, Molly, Pat's wife has a bicycling, Spin City, cycling.
Same type of thing.
Theater.
Exercise in one place.
Yeah.
You don't really go anywhere, but you sweat your ass off.
The feet are going.
Yeah. That's cool. And it just move. Everyone should just be moving some which way or the other.
It's cool.
Yeah. Fantastic. Welcome. So happy that you joined us on the Man in the Arena. In your case, of course, it's the quote from Teddy Roosevelt. It's the man in the arena, but of course, in your case, the women in the arena. So we thank you so much for joining. We hope this is the last time we're in in touch. We'll get this barter system going on.
Well, I
and
hope,
Yep.
I hope
See you
the
next time.
challenge that you faced and we're facing was given to us to make a bigger impact. That's the only thing I can think of or hope for, is that we were challenged and brutalized so we can help others.
I agree. And I just think the American people need to understand that the inventors are out there, you and I, the real inventors. And if they think they're saving a couple dollars here and there, you know, for the products, you know, just to get a deal, they're really hurting the big picture, our country in general.
We're out of
you know?
work.
Right.
All
And
right.
so I just hope that awareness, you know, brings that back to the consumers, and we can all kind of
keep
understand
swinging.
that. So
Yeah.
Keep jumping.
going.
keep jumping.
Yeah, baby.
All right, Molly. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Okay, you're welcome. Right.
That's great stuff.
We'll take a quick break and we'll come back and wrap up this episode of The Man in the Arena
It's Mr. 3000.
after this.
I was in the living room when I heard my son Carter, who was 2 at the time. I looked over and I saw him grabbing for his face and his throat. I grabbed the LifeVac. I put the mask on his face and placed push-pull. The LifeVac dislodged the ice cube from his airway and he started crying. The most amazing sound I've ever heard in my entire life. Please protect your family. Get a LifeVac.
And he fought it, and then he gave us her. Yo,
Yeah, we're
holy
back.
cow.
We're back. A lot of the discussion getting broadcast live out to the community, but we
how
can edit
cool
that
is she?
out. She
Yeah.
is fantastic. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to The Man in the Arena. I'm here with Arthur Lee and Patrick O'Rourke, and I'll be Rick Fatscher.
Professional
always.
Rick.
Sometimes I forget.
Yes, very nicely. done
Sometimes I
there,
forget.
Mr.
But how
Fletcher.
great, you were just asking, how great was Molly?
Well, I think the God wink of this morning, seeing this ad on Fox, the guy saying, "Yeah, I got a patent. I really can't do anything about it."
In the
I'm just
commercial.
getting creamed.
What are we gonna do
And
about
we
it?
did one where I pulled one of these apart. This one, you know. So this product's out there killing people.
You can hear
and-
it disassembling at home.
Well, if you're watching, you can
Arthur's
see
got
it,
a
but-
crappy
so
life.
it just
vac-
falls apart
It's horrible.
and you die. But that's really
Even the
bad.
inside.
Not
What
the
is this?
toxic glue. Right?
Garbage.
This one didn't have it. That's
Right.
what happens. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Still falls apart. But the
Total,
Molly
total
story
crap.
is
Ukraine.
kind of more the typical story, right? They knock off a product and they just make it and just disregard patent, any laws, regulations, copyrights. The ad that you see is they just took our ad, remove LifeVac, and put on their
Right.
brand.
Right.
In our case, you're gonna die, and it's illegal. Like we you know, the patent's worthless, right? That's Molly's. She's right. It's
Right.
worthless because they just knock it off, and then you're gonna go after China, and then I didn't even know you go through this whole process, and
Yeah,
then
this-
And they
just
cancel you.
negate your patent
Patent
anyway.
Trial Appeal Board.
Yeah.
Sends a bunch of lawyers who get pockets lined by the big companies.
And then they just took it away anyway. So
Right.
what is but part of the PSA
It's like
is
going for taxes, get your property taxes reduced. Come on, file, and then they raise them.
Yeah.
Cancel your.
but she lost everything because
Insane.
they stole her patent and she fought, and the only solution they had was to negate it. So it is not only worthless in the sense they just go
So
around
corrupt.
Insult to injury.
is that even if you do fight it, they'll just take yours away. But in the PSA side is if you are a young kid like me thinking, oh my God, I'm going to make this thing, I'm going to get a patent, and they're going to get knocked off and they're going to steal it and they're going to take all the money and you're going to put in all the work. The hope comes from like Brian talking about it on Fox and Friends and Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's what you gotta get this out
that
here. Yep. Mhm.
we're getting killed. You know, we get inundated now with the tariffs and
Do you think
know,
this conversation about trade in general will help this situation?
well, and this came to Danny that this is almost separate. We need hopefully the whole tariffs, we're going to die, whatever happens, but we need to isolate this piece of it, right? These are illegal and they're coming in and being sold, right? They have to be registered with the FDA and they have to pass certain requirements, right? So they're just bypassing that. This one kills you because you hold this valve and it pushes it in. So this one could actually kill you.
No valve.
This thing, this bazooka, is just
It also pushes air in first.
Yeah, it pushes air in. It's got this tube, so you jam it in. Now you
could scratch
this
up your
thing.
throat.
I don't even know. It's just like basically falling apart. But
a pogo stick.
Yeah. Boing, 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 boing.
More looks like a garden weasel than anything
I
else.
always think of like the bazooka when you were a kid.
Yes.
But so all this crap is out there and is illegal and needs to be stopped. But in the bigger picture, and this poor woman and brought her passion and had a good company and just got decimated and the people got fired. That's your typical patent infringement and no one cares. They make it, they knock it off, send to Amazon. Our case is someone's going to die and needs to be stopped. In the big picture, tariff schmariff, figure it out. But we need to stop the influx of illegal medical products. That'd be a good start, right?
That happens in medicine.
Forget
too.
patent. Just stop illegal medical products, right? Then let's take this story. Let's protect our patent again, right? Let's not let them steal it. She said it perfectly to some extent. If you could go through a program on Amazon that you show them you have a patent so that no one else allowed to sell it, because that's the problem.
Or you could filter it out.
Yeah, but
if you wanted to
let's
go
get
that
back
step.
to protecting our integrity as a country.
And be 84%, they say no, yeah, there's some fakes, there's some, real, but the 84% you're taking their patent away. Come on, man.
Well, there's look at mine. The patent office issued one exact same patent.
That's the other thing where she had hers negated. You had someone come along from
Right, because they didn't
some
want to bother
overseas.
negating it later.
But the U.S. Patent Office granted a new patent for a very similar device.
Exactly the
Did
same.
no search.
Language is the same.
Horrendous.
But here's the thing. That's why the PSA side is don't think a patent's going to protect you. Their commercial says didn't do us any good. Doesn't mean nothing. We need it to mean something again. In the meantime, we, LifeVac, has to fight because they're going to kill someone. And they're illegal. Like these are on Walmart and Amazon. They're illegal. They need to be stopped until we get that. At least go through the FDA. At least prove you're safe and effective. And then we can hope that the visibility of this situation with Darius and China gives us protection back so we can start innovative and keep it and make it successful.
Yeah. They benefit, Amazon does, from the marketing dollars. If they steal a commercial and put it on, they pay for that. They also get a slight bit of revenue from the sale. But what responsibility do they have to honest business that goes through the process and is also doing business on Amazon? What responsibility?
Well,
the government's going to drop the ball.
See, the Amazon was the conduit to take the knockoff from on the corner to the masses,
world,
right? Because now they don't exist. You can't go and get them. You can't sue them. You can't find their warehouse in Brooklyn and prosecute. I could litigate that you stole my patent. So Amazon is not necessarily doing wrong, but they have the ability to be the savior. They have the ability to take that new responsibility and
do what's right.
Help us. And it's not going to hurt them. It's not going to make any difference to them. Probably help them because they take a percent. So U.S. product may be a little more expensive. These things are so cheap because one, they fall apart, and two, they don't have to market. Three, they don't have to pay for testing and studying. They don't have to pay FDA fees. Yeah, they're cheaper.
Lap dances for the big guy.
Yeah,
don't have to pay all those things.
Yeah. Not saying anything wrong with that, but the point of the matter is they're cheaper because they bypass all the cost with marketing and registration and compliance and testing. So that's why they're cheaper. Amazon has the ability to be the filter. They won't affect them money-wise. The more expensive, the more they make. But,
do the right thing.
Well, we just have to all work together to get the patent worth something, to protect our country from dangerous. These are going to kill people. They're gonna ruin 13 years of work because you're gonna think you used the suction device and pushed it in and killed you. And it's illegal. It's not FDA registered. It's just a mess.
I predict in this arena, we're going to be talking a lot more with Molly and her colleagues that are also inventors and are also getting screwed over by this Fugazi board.
Well, my thought with Molly is maybe the God wink is that her real value that she was put on this planet for is to help expose this problem, right? That her passion led her to get in the arena and then get crushed and be marred with blood and dust.
leave all the good work she was doing, not only her own company, but transferring that on and
but maybe
inspiring
the
kids.
bigger picture is that she's supposed to help raise the awareness to solve the bigger problem, to save our country. Because otherwise, if 55% of sellers on Amazon were 70%, we're not going to have a country because we're not going to have money. It's all going to leave the country, and all the jobs are going to leave the country. Amazon ain't going anywhere.
And it's been happening for 40 years.
Yeah, but now
They
it's
act like
accelerated because
of
they
course.
have the mechanism. Sunrise Mall, you work there.
Yep.
No one's working there.
Well, I wouldn't classify it as work.
Yeah.
Work.
Did you ever work at Sunrise Mall?
Of course. Everyone had
you?
a job there at one point, yes.
What'd you do there?
I worked at Orange Julius.
No way.
Whoa.
Yeah, for like a week and a half.
Wow.
And
Orange Julius.
it wasn't one of the, it was a knockoff, not a mom and pop sneaker store.
Oh, yeah?
Like right in high school. It was like, they sold like Keds and Cons. And then Foot Locker came in and wiped us out.
Yeah. Wait a second. At Orange Julius, did you make them? What was that powder crap?
Sugar.
It was just, I think it was just pure sugar. There was bags, look, literally like the paper bags, just slit the top and pour it into like the mixture and then put water in.
Really?
Yeah, it was like
confection
Tang
sugar.
almost, but
It tasted a little like
Yeah.
that. But I used to like it. It was good.
Then they throw ice and they make it slushy.
Yeah.
Orange
Yeah,
Julius, maybe
Kenny
our
Cocaine.
first, if they're still around, maybe our first sponsor. Orange
I
Julius.
don't think they're around.
Well,
It's a
I just want to
refreshing
predict,
drink.
so we don't have Mr.
Sponsors.
3000 this week.
Yeah.
For next week, I just want to say,
Oh, come
my
on.
prediction number was 39.39. I think we're up to.
39.39.
Last week it was like, what was it, 38.91, something like that.
Wait,
We were at 39.30, I think, this morning. I wonder if Donna's telling us.
39.30. If there's 9
Usually
more,
it's
I'm right on.
usually telling us what's going on.
Well, you can't say that now. He can predict whatever
We
you
saved 5 today. So that my rough guess is
39.35.
Yeah, I think so.
I was off by 4.
That's pretty good, Pat.
Thank you.
But check it out while we were on. I love this. I got a text. Saved a 1.5-year-old boy who choked on a lollipop. And then she wrote 5. That's 5.
5 today.
But while we were on air.
Before the
and there's a guy
Preakness,
like
4,000. Before the Preakness. When's the Preakness?
Is that
Late
how we
night?
do these?
Yes.
It's like the old days, you used to tell people how to get places by bars. You make a right at Zachary's, you come down
Stop
at
in.
Fox's when
Yeah,
you get.
yeah.
What's our
That's all we knew was
landmarks.
bars. Those were our landmarks.
Sparta pub crawls. Sparta pub crawl. Big Massapequa tradition. So it's been a great show. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Pat. Join us next week on the Man in the Arena. Where we? Gosh, I don't even know what we'll talk about next week, but it'll be exciting because
but you know
we'll
what?
be together. Pub crawls.
Yeah, we could do that.
We actually do a bike ride, my wife and all her friends.
Molly's still listening. Molly, we thank you so much. It's
Yeah,
been
you're
a great
Oh,
show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
we
we'll-
said all those nice things about her behind her
Yeah.
back.
We did. We did.
That's unusual.
So listen, I think it's a great time for Mike Rowe to
Take
take
us
us
out.
home. Take us home, Mike Rowe.
All right,
What
good
do
Your
job,
Life Vac
boys.
song, everybody.
Thanks,
What do you call a small micro? Micro.
It's no joke when you choke, so get LifeVac and live. Without breath, there'll be death. So get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live.
LifeVac and live.